What's going on, Soul Nation? Ginger Prime here, and while we're going to be talking Cyberpunk 2077 and not a delay, we will be having a conversation around microtransactions and what this means for the future of the game itself. Now, this all kind of kicks off with Spawnwave tweeting out the internet is having a really hard time trying to figure out how to react to CD Projekt Red's talking up their microtransactions. And not to scare you or like dishearten you in any means, let's go ahead and dive into the information, which I'll include in the link in the description below, basically saying Cyberpunk 2077 will feature microtransactions in a way that will make players happy to spend money. Oh my gosh, clickbait title, thank you DualShockers. Essentially what this article goes on to confirm is they're talking about the multiplayer aspect of Cyberpunk 2077, not the single player aspect. And if we actually go through the history of CD Projekt Red's microtransactions as it relates to 2077, basically they said no. Well, maybe for multiplayer, but we're not ready to talk about it. No. Even within, like, I think just this year or last year alone, saying, hey, post-release microtransactions are a bad idea for the game itself. Again, all focusing in on the single-player aspect, but the multiplayer aspect is different. Now, let's go ahead and dive into this article a little bit to set the context, and then we're going to have a discussion because, well, I've got opinions. I'm sure you do. And if you got opinions, positive, negative, whether you agree with mine or not, honestly, just let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you and why, because we got a couple tweets I also want to kind of dive into as well. Anyway, CD Projekt Red is mostly known for its narrative-driven single-player games. The studio has never stepped into the multiplayer arena except for Gwent, their card-based game that experienced quite successful launch on mobile platforms. However, they're going to be bringing large-scale multiplayer mode to Cyberpunk 2077 sometime after its launch. Although it is yet to be revealed how multiplayer mechanics are actually going to work in the game, fans are already expecting something a grand scale of Grand Theft Online, which honestly, if they're able to hit that with Cyberpunk 2077, that's going to put GTA 5 at least to run for its money until I guess they're ready to launch GTA 6, because GTA 5 continues to sell. Number one, that's why it was announced with the PS5. Anyway, Adam, the president of CD Projekt Red, confirmed that the multiplayer section of the game will have microtransactions and in-game purchases, as a great setting for selling things, which could immediately make your heart sink or make you concerned. The goal of this is not to actually make you concerned, it's to have a conversation around what microtransactions really are and why the internet struggles with understanding them. I, and at least my opinion, believe, it's my firm belief that gamers are happy to support any company that they believe in, any game that they believe in. And it's all about that kind of belief. If the company feels like it is going through your pocketbooks, well, then by all means, microtransactions are bad. Therefore, my thesis has always been, as long as the company or the games that we believe in are good, microtransactions are just fine. We love to support them. Look at any console sell, and while consoles aren't a microtransaction, gamers will applaud. We will celebrate victory. We will celebrate sales of a game that we love, of a company that we love. Take Sony PlayStation, let's say Sony PlayStation 5 comes out of the gate and dominates. Yes, way to go, Sony. Well, like, none of that money's coming into my pocketbook, but it's something that I believe in and therefore want to support, as long as there's a kind of a humility or, an authenticity might be a better term when it comes to gaming kind of mindsets and that kind of that kind of, where we root for them, these multi-billion-dollar companies, because we believe in what they're doing. Now, there's also a camp, if I go here into my bookmarks, Zero here says, there is honestly no such thing as a good MTX. Sure, there are unobtrusive MTXs that don't actually make your experience worse or force you to spending money, but if someone could buy their way up to having a better experience, then you also know that game sucks. And there is definitely a crowd within gaming that says absolutely no microtransactions. They are all bad and all wrong. So curious to see kind of where you fall. There's obviously shades of gray. There's obviously going to be ways in which that varies in the context of games itself. But I'm always of the opinion that it's a market, and you choose to either engage with it or not. So let's take CD Projekt Red's example in this announcement regarding multiplayer, because that's also a whole other aspect to it. When it comes down to single player games, I always get this weird feeling, this like in the pit of my stomach, like, what is happening? Why are we having single player games with microtransactions? Like, what is the purpose of that? Why isn't that earned in game? Because a single player game also isn't a living experience, right? Like, unless there's an example of where I'm I'm not thinking of. In my mind, I think of a single player game as one that does not require online connection, that you can play the game, you can beat the game, and occasionally maybe they'll update the game. And whether they do that for free or paid DLC, I think the market has spoken. Whenever companies try to, like, EA is a great example, when they try to, like, insert, hey, here's this thing. Or even we saw it recently with Ubisoft, where within Assassin's Creed, XP boosters for your gameplay experience. No matter what, even if they didn't offer that, it still it puts that thought in our mind that, well, the leveling experience was designed to try and get me to spend a little bit more money. And at the end of the day, gamers feel that that's shady, and I agree. I think that is completely shady. Now, multiplayer seems to take on a whole other aspect, but the complaint or the critique here, the balance is that because there's so much more money to be made in multiplayer, look at Fortnite, look at the number one games streamed on Twitch. They are multiplayer based. Eyes, money, that's kind of the business, the shady business, or just the normal business side that tends to kind of conflict with the art and the appreciation and the authenticity of the things that we appreciate and enjoy within gaming. All right, that's a long way of saying that you see that there's that complaint that you are now only being served up multiplayer games and there's less single player narrative driven experiences. So at the end of the day, there's no good outcome to sit here and say, like, this is great. You're not going to sit here and say to me, like, yeah, I'm glad that they put those XP boosters in Assassin's Creed. No, like, I can't get behind that. I don't think really a lot of people can. You could sit here and say that it's like, let's say you love that franchise, you love the company. Gamers will justify it and say, hey, yeah, that's great. Like, we love that. We were going to support that. But the problem with all of this comes down to it is that they're all one big market, and it's studying us to make some kind of decision. So for me, I think when you look at this and why, back to what Spawnwave tweeted here, with the internet really having a hard time trying to figure this out, is because we've been burned before. We want to root for CD Projekt RED. They have a history of saying already with Cyberpunk 2077 that they weren't. But to be fair to them, they did say that they are considering it for multiplayer. We just don't know they just weren't ready to announce anything yet for it. And at the end of the day, if through those microtransactions and us supporting them and the game, the multiplayer can be something bigger, something better, something more long-term, because the reality of the business side of all of this is that if they can sit here and budget and plan a certain amount of money based off the community, just because there's models and algorithms that say based off of this is what you can anticipate over the course of a month, a quarter, a year, the business itself can say, okay, how can we either pay our investors or bring in more games or more gameplay and help support that community and that aspect. Again, if they're starting to sit here like DualShockers was talking about, something to try and rival, at least in our minds, to Grand Theft Auto Online, this could be massive for CD Projekt RED, empowering them to make even bigger games. But then, but then is, well, we really haven't seen Grand Theft Auto 6, have we? And Grand Theft Auto is going to its 5th platform now. So either they're working on something massively huge, or man, I wish I owned stock in them. Anyway, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts here, any and all in the comments below. I appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're new here and you feel like it and you feel like I earned it, hopefully hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, come back for more video game news, discussion, and guides here on Ginger Prime. Hopefully you guys are all having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in my next video. But until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.